If you aren't familiar, Black Education Station is a streaming network. It's 100% Black owned. All of the content is created and featuring Black people, and it is strictly for the education of our Black children ages 0 to 10. Amazing content on there. If you are a subscriber of Black Education Station, please put in the comments what your favorite series is to watch there, and we'll give a little shout out as we get closer to the end of the interview. All right, so let's get into things. We have a special guest today, and I'm going to let you go ahead and just do your introduction, and then we'll get into the questions.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Again, my name is Janan Ashton. I know it says Janan Green. I'm Janan Green Ashton. Green is my mother. It's Dr. Green, so I try to stay away from it. But I am a few things. I am an actor. I say actor, gender fluid to, the new societal term. But also I'm a suicide prevention advocate, specifically for young Black and brown people. And I am also an educator. I've been in the field of education, I would say officially since 2016, initially starting with helping young people that were experiencing homelessness further their education and career. The proper term is houselessness. Home is where the heart is at the end of the day. But I was initially working with them, then I went on to teach in the classroom for about 4 years, and now I'm at a new school creating an internship program to help young people in urban populations further their 21st century skill sets.
Wow. Okay, we got to get into all of that. Tell me, okay, so what grades did you teach when you first started teaching? Tell me about what that experience was like and kind of what motivated you to transition into teaching.
Well, I'll be honest. I never wanted to be a teacher. My mom is an educator, and when I was younger, I wanted to run far away from that as possible. I'm an artsy-fartsy creative, and as a creative, we just want to create, But then I grew up, and then I went, and I also understood that, yes, my major, I went to Penn State, Abington. We are, for those of you that are Penn Staters, but when I went to Penn State, I majored in integrative arts. So integrative arts is a mixture of an art form with other majors. I focused on theater, African American studies, psychology with a hint of education because I had no idea I was going to this field at all. When I originally transitioned to the classroom, I had no clue that I was teaching. And I was told maybe a couple days before that I would be teaching in class. I'm like, oh, great.
Nice.
But the group of young people, they were the class of 2022. I was at Mastery Shoemaker, located in West Philadelphia. That specific group of young people really ignited a flame in me. They were so raw. They were so charismatic. It was 10th grade. And I'm just
grade.
But I love them. They're my babies. They still contact me to this day. I'm still mom to a lot of them. They still call me from school or we'll FaceTime, have different dates just to check in with one another, see how they're doing. And I would say that's when I'm just all right, I'm kind of finding my footing. Because honestly, for me, my experience was because I'm a creative, I don't fit the mold of teacher. I'm really authentic of who I am. You look at my social media, you see I'm not necessarily fitting of the, oh, hi guys, come on. I'm like, oh girl, what you doing? Yes. I am that educator, So
that's what they need. That's what our girls need, right?
And they do. And I give it to them every day. But at the same time, I had to find my footing, and I had to learn how to not only find ways to help the young people, but also find ways to help myself as well.
Yeah, finding that balance. That's amazing. Yeah. Like you, my mother was an educator as well. She taught special ed. And there was nothing in me that was excited about education or, going into education as a career. So I went to Spelman College. I majored in psychology pre-med. I eventually went to nursing school. So I became a nurse. And then just my path, with the COVID pandemic,
Mm.
I have a 9-year-old, and we'll get into your kids in a few minutes. But my 9-year-old school was closed, and it required me to. My husband was home, but he was working, and so he wasn't doing the teaching thing. So it required me to stay home and kind of work with her education wise. And then I linked up with an education consulting firm, and lo and behold, here I am, working in education. So but I'm like you, and I'm artsy. So like my passion is fashion and styling. And so I do a thank you. So I do a lot of that on the side. I love to create as well. So it is challenging kind of finding that balance. And then it's just so funny to me to just see where I am now as opposed to where I thought, like 10 years ago, I never would have thought, that I would be doing what I'm doing now. So we are similar in that way, but I love it. So let's talk about your littles. Now, I know you have twins. How old are they? Tell me all about being a mom. How do they love school? All that stuff.
Well, I have twins. They are 8. Brian and Autumn are absolutely amazing. They actually asked me, "Do you want me to close your door, mommy? Because I know you're about to do something." I'm like, "Yes."
Nice.
It is a journey being an educator, everything that I do alone, and also being a parent. I take care of them by myself. But on top of that, I have 2 children with IEPs. As an educator, as a growing educator, I would say I took that harshly. I felt like it was my fault, like I was doing something that was wrong. I felt like when my daughter has a specified learning disability, and I was watching her read, and it was just like, why isn't she grasping certain things when I was reading at 4, and then my son, with him, I just noticed little things since he was a baby. He didn't talk for a while. He didn't talk till he was about 3 years old. And it was like the most random words, like bulldozer, Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I'm just like, what? Like,
boy words.
Boy words, right.
Yes.
Son was talking, like he wasn't talking, then he started talking out of nowhere. And then I noticed he wouldn't give eye contact. He would go in a corner and play by himself. He preferred it. He did play with other kids. He did have friends, but it just wasn't like my little social butterfly.
Right.
April 2022, April 1st, actually, I found out that my son is on the spectrum. And even though he is very high functioning, it's very hard for me to navigate through that space, especially being an educator where I know there are services for young people that are on the spectrum. And at the same time, because my son is so high functioning, a lot of those things don't fit him. So it's definitely been a journey. And I share those things because I was once ashamed of them. Not just being an educator, but as a Black woman that's on her own, and all those stigmas and things that people like to put on us, or people are asking me crazy questions about like, well, what did I do, to make this happen? And I just had to step myself and like really think like, no. My children are amazing. When it comes to school, they have 3 days right now. And I got my children IEPs to give them the support. My children do all their work on their own. My children literally ask for help. They know how to advocate for themselves. They know how to let me know, well, hey, mommy, this is really overwhelming me. Can I take a break? My daughter will tell me, like, when you don't relax, you snap out. So...
So let's talk about that though, because I know personally, at least one set of parents, African American, whose child is on the spectrum. And I know that in our community, there's oftentimes, like you said, that stigma around, I don't want them to be labeled, or, I don't want them, to be put on this certain track and not be able to come, back and forth. As an educator, I know that you are probably well versed in, advocating for your kids and, making sure that they're getting what they need, like you said. So tell me kind of what is some advice that you would give to other parents who may be in a similar situation?
First, I would say it is okay to get your child an IEP. And I'll repeat that. It is perfectly okay to get your child an IEP. In our community alone, that stigma is rough. That stigma sticks. And even though especially like our generation, like I'm still young, and our generation is the generation that's like, okay, this is wrong. Maybe we should redirect our thinking, but it's the redirecting our thinking that's the hard
Yes,
navigate.
yes.
Um, Accepting that it's not you, that this is how your child is, and finding ways to help them, especially if they can communicate those things. Observe. I'm very active in their school, and their school is amazing. They go to Jinx Academy of Arts and Science in Philadelphia, and they're so supportive with my children, and I made sure that they had like a thorough observation for both of them. And also, I would say teach your children how to advocate for themselves too. I do that in my class as well, like any of the students that I have. If I'm doing something that is triggering you, because adults are human and we have adult problems and we have adult frustration. You can communicate to me like, hey, Miss Ashton, I didn't like X, Y, and Z. It's the same things that I tell my kids. No, my
So even at 8.
and my son will tell a teacher in a second, hey, you're talking a little bit too fast for me to understand.
Nice. That is awesome.
That was a big thing for him. It's still a big thing for him. And also one thing that I'm working on that I would give like this tidbit of advice to parents that maybe the same situation is understand that this is your child's normal.
So normal means something different, right? For everyone.
And my son, I've had to start taking the emphasis off of him being on the spectrum. Like I was originally saying, oh, he's autistic versus he has autism or he's on the spectrum. Because of my own biases, because of my own stigma, and I had to check myself. And he's done a lot of checking with me too. Not forcing him into doing different things or wearing the hat proudly. He's not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
You know, so just we're learning together. And I would say the same thing for any other parents, specifically Black parents going through what I'm experiencing right now. Just grow with them and listen to them as well.
I love it. That's really dope. So when we started this conversation, I didn't know that about your children. So I'm glad we were able to kind of talk through that and kind of give some advice because like I said, I personally know people, I'm sure probably most of the people watching, are familiar with someone in similar situations. So I love that we can provide them, some tips and tricks on how to kind of navigate what that looks like with their children.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. Okay. Tell me, okay, so you are an actress, you're in movies and such. A lot of the things, every week we've kind of had a conversation around representation in the media. What is your take on that? What do your kids watch? And what I guess what advice do you have for parents who are looking to either get their children into the industry or even just making sure that their children are watching things that are representative of themselves?
Honestly, my kids do not watch anything that I'm in. No. Even when I have a podcast as well, shout out to Alate Preem and What You Scared to Say podcast. I don't even let them listen to that.
Janan, I would listen. Okay, I know why. Because I went on your page the other day. I was like, this is for adults.
Adults and non-church going folk.
Yes, I mean it's some good information on there, but it's definitely not for kids.
It's not,
so yes.
Clutch your pearls. But with my children, I monitor what they watch. They like, and my daughter likes anime. My daughter's creative. She's so creative. She likes photography. She watches YouTube videos about like how to.
Yes.
She wants to make her own vlog, and because of today's society, I'm like, wait till you're a little older. Yeah. I'm really protective over my children and what they take in, especially as an actor. Like they know not to say certain words when they hear me on rehearsal over Zoom. Yes. That's inappropriate, Mom.
Yeah.
Especially my son. He's a routine follower, so it's just like,
yes, like no.
And with my son, he watches football, he watches wrestling, basketball. He's like, he has fixation. So he gets fixated on things, but it's hilarious to watch. They're your like, I remember my old students was like, your kids are suburban. I'm like, no, they're just regular. You know, like they're normal.
Normal, right? Normal.
They like Scooby-Doo like I do. It's my favorite. They like Tom and Jerry. They look at like kids things. They jump on ABC Mouse. I don't have to tell them to. Like they are kids. They watch Disney Channel. They love Bluey. Bluey annoyed me, but you know,
Bluey is good. My daughter be singing a song. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. But I like Bluey. It's so cute.
I don't. Bluey, no.
Yeah.
But it scares me sometimes. Like dogs talking, but okay. But as an actor, representation means a couple different things to me. I am a person that does so much all the time, right? And for representation purposes, when it comes to my children or even my students, I want them to see, it's one of my old kids right there, but I want them to see that anything is possible. You know, I had my children when I was in college. Now, I was literally performing, and then I got really, really sick, and I didn't know what was going on, and boom, I found out I was pregnant. And on my way to rehearsal, I fell, hurt myself really bad after I found out I was pregnant, had a really bad injury, and I thought I lost them, and I found out I was having twins. Like, it's the craziest thing ever, right? But my representation showing them that anything is possible, but also with my kids now is learning what's for me and what's not for me, and will put me in the direction that I really want to be in, saying no to certain things as well. When it comes to representation for like what we see nowadays, right?
Right.
I get a little, to be quite honest, I get a little upset when I see certain things. Like, we all see Instagram now. We all see the girls that look a certain way, that are a certain aesthetic.
Yeah.
And here I am, a feeling. So it's just like, I try to navigate through this world of just like, you got to have a certain look. You got to have this and that and long weave. And I do that for a protective style. But it's also just like, I can be me and still make it. I'm a woman that's for women. I don't care if you live a different life from me or if you're the most ratchet of all ratchets. I want you to win.
Yeah.
And I think the representation that we see now with women, specifically against women, is just disgusting. What are we really teaching our young people? What are we really showing? What are we telling them? That we're insecure within ourselves? Empowered women empower women.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I want to represent. We can be in the same lane and I'm still going to win regardless and still congratulate you and clap for you.
Yes, I love that.
Still succeed in our lives. So I really want to represent that for not just my daughter or my son, but all young people in general, specifically Black and brown young people as well.
Yes, I love, so you said a bunch of stuff and I don't want to cut you off, but okay. So one thing you mentioned is, your daughter wanting to start a vlog. And so of course, you know, I got to put it out there. Black Education Station is a safe place for, you know, children to start their own channels or, you know, first begin getting exposure. We have several channels that have actually been started by children. My daughter is actually starting one as well. So I think that would be an amazing avenue for your daughter if you did want to get her out there. There, no commercials, no comment section, you know, so it's safe. It's not, it's nothing. She will be protected. It's like you're in a bubble. Okay. So that's one thing. Another thing that another thing I want to touch on it really though is, you talked about women and how they are represented in the media. And I love that you talked about that. That's one thing that I really try to reiterate with my daughter is that you don't have to look a certain way. I change my look at least every couple of weeks, right? Like when I first started this podcast, I had braids, you know, I'm changing my hair all the time. I'm changing, you know, my style. And I think that that is really important for our daughters to see, is that there's not a certain way that you have to look to
Right.
be, to move through life. I won't even say to be accepted, because that's not even, our goal at this point,
Right.
right? So just making sure that we are embracing and helping them to embrace that creativity and, be themselves, whether it's, long hair. Next week I might have long hair. We don't know.
Right.
Okay. So, despite what it may look like to other people, just making sure that our children, and I have a heart for our girls as well, so making sure that our girls really understand that it's not about competition, it's about collaboration, all
Right.
those things
Right.
that are so important that we share with them, about just life and just moving through life. So I love that you brought that up. Have you seen that series? There's a series on Hulu by Tracy Ellis Ross, and she interviews famous women, and it's about hair. If you haven't looked at it, it's really good. So her first person that it's produced by Oprah and Tracy Ellis Ross, but she interviews Oprah for the first episode, and then she interviews Issa Rae for the second one.
Nice.
To like, I made sure I watched it with my daughter. They are talking everything about black hair, and it's an amazing series if you get a chance to watch it. But you made me think of it when you started talking about hair. But it's really dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, we are halfway through our time. All right. So, looking at my questions here. What is one of the biggest challenges that you have had with raising your children at home? And then another big challenge, I know you've talked about a few that you face with them in school, but if you have any others, like what are some of those? What do those look like for you? And what did you do to kind of overcome them?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the biggest challenge for me was accepting me.
Mm.
I think that, especially Black women, when we make the decision to become mommy,
Yes.
that's it. Like, and at some point in time, that was my whole identity, and then, like, I graduated, and my story, I messed up in school, in college specifically. And then I went from a very bad GPA to a 4.0 consistently with babies, and like taking them to class and taking the bus and doing all these different things. And I still wasn't satisfied. And the one thing that has been a challenge for me that I'm still working on, they don't want a perfect mom. They want a happy mom.
Yes.
And finding what that happiness looks like aside from parenting, because a lot of us are taught that, oh, your kids come first. Yes, but what about you? It's not selfishness if you're aware of what's going on. You have to find time for you. With everything that I do, that's been the most challenging. And then the different things that they were experiencing just added onto it. And I was taking that on, not understanding that this is part of their journey and I'm their portal.
Yes.
So if I react harshly to something, they're going to react.
Yes.
If
Yes. You model that for them.
About something, they're going to make an even bigger deal about something. My daughter is me 10.9. Like, it's, and if I'm dramatic, you haven't seen anything yet. But I had to learn how to accept myself as a parent and learn that we do mess up. We do make mistakes, and also know that I am the commander of this ship. I'm the person that is making the calls, making the shots, and to trust myself. The more I trust myself, the more my children trust me. And that's helped me become a better educator as well. The challenge for, education wise was just trying to figure out what works for them. And also fighting the other things I was hearing about getting your child an IEP. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. And now I think that was the best decision that I made for them, because more than likely they're going to grow out of it by the time they're in fourth grade. My son was on a primer reading level in the summer, and now he's on a fourth grade reading level. And my son may have a different gift than since, However, that's a lot of improvement. My daughter was on a primer, and now she's getting to reading level. Those are amazing milestones that my children are making, not just because I'm helping with homework or doing certain things. It's really them. And giving them that grace and giving them those flowers that they really deserve.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
love that. It sounds like you're doing a lot of modeling, making sure that what you're putting out is what you want them to put out as well.
Mm.
And I saw in the comments that parents self-care is not emphasized enough, and I completely agree with that. I
Yeah.
know a lot of times, as moms and just even as parents in general, like we pour everything into our children, and
Mm-hmm.
then we expect to have something left for ourselves or to be, to function. I'm like, you can't that you can't pour from an empty cup, basically, is what it comes down to. So yeah, so taking care of yourself as a parent, having that confidence, it sounds like you said, making sure that you're confident in the decisions that you're making,
Mm.
and that you're moving in the right way, and that they will follow suit. So I love that.
Mm.
And those are amazing tips for any parent
Right.
who is watching today. Let's see here. We talked about media. What hmm, what do you think that our schools, our public, well, your kids aren't in public schools, but our
My,
school,
my kids
it
are
is
in
a
public.
public school? Okay. So public schools or just schools in general, what is your thought on, or what is your take on what schools should do differently? How can schools be better for our little ones?
Uh, Try not to get fired.
Not your school, other
I know. I'm
schools.
thinking schools in general. Honestly, there are a few things. Um, I started venturing into grad school. I went to Temple for a little bit for urban ed, and then I stopped dead in my tracks.
Mm,
I'm passionate about working with young Black and brown people, but urban is a different canopy, you know?
yes.
It's different. Um, it can include everybody in like a metropolitan area. But one thing that I'm noticing is that it depends on the pedagogy that you're following.
Mm-hmm.
Some schools do bad student, bad teacher, and they up the ante on PDs and things of that nature and longer
Yeah.
hours. Or,
Yeah.
or you know, I went to an elite high school. I went to Central High School in Philadelphia. It was one of the top schools in the nation, maybe the
Mm-hmm.
world at times.
Mm-hmm.
And that type of student choice that we had. But I would just really say listen to the families and listen to the students.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
know, I really think that, especially working with high school students, their voices do deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
They're young. They're not going to say it in the most polite way sometimes.
Right.
That's where we as adults can redirect, you know.
Mm-hmm.
However, I listen to my students. When I'm creating internship programs, I've gotten to know them well enough that I know how to redirect, that I know I don't have
Yeah.
to police something. All I have to do is give you like, hey, cool out.
Yeah.
All I have to do is speak in your language, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily cursing or carrying on or anything like that, but your love language. Understand
Mm-hmm.
that this is an extension of home as well. This isn't a
Yeah.
business. It's an extension of home. This is school. This is their safe place. Sometimes their
Mm-hmm.
only safe place as well. So allowing their voices to be heard, allowing the families' voices to be heard. So up in the family engagement, um,
Mm-hmm.
and be involved. Like I used to tell old teachers all the time, pull up, see where they live, see what they go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
A question. Invite them to lunch at a certain
Mm-hmm.
period. Like meeting them where they are is so important to me.
Yeah.
I I I hold my students to a certain standard, especially with my
Mm-hmm.
internship program. You know, my name's on the line too.
Right.
However, I meet them where they're at. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I develop the types of rapports I have with students and their families as well. And lastly, let these students know that you're also human.
Yes.
I think
I
that
love that.
oftentimes a lot of kids see us as robots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, voices off in 5, 4, 3, 2, and off. You know, it's the same script over,
Right.
right? But then when you let them know you're human,
Mm-hmm.
let them know that things bother you.
Yeah.
Let them know, like, hey, that's a boundary of mine. I didn't like that. Creating a rapport so these young people can trust you, whether they're little babies that will love everybody but still have a hard time trusting people, or they're older and they've been through some things at this point.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So building those relationships, meeting people where they are, increasing the engagement of your families, making sure that they know that they have a voice, right? When they come into the schools and when they're speaking to the school leadership, helping them to understand that, you know, what they're saying is heard. It may not be done, but at least it's heard and it's taken in, and it's important to our schools, right? Perfect. I love it. Tell people where they can find you. Tell them all about your projects, what you have going on. Where can we find you?
So first, the projects I'm in. So Lowest Places, Lost Time is, I can't even begin to say like what's going on. I would just say stay tuned. We are having a virtual premiere on November 19th. All you have to do is follow Lowest Places Film on Instagram, and it'll pop right up, and you'll get further details soon, within literally the next couple weeks. But November 19th, save the date for the virtual premiere. And also keep us in prayer. We have some really great things going on behind the scenes that we can't really talk about yet, but I'm really excited for that. Another project that I am in is called there's been a lot of them. What's it called? Freedom's Eve. It will be released in December. It'll be streamed in churches and Underground Railroad station sites across the country. And I'm really excited about that. It is about a young group, siblings of, they were enslaved Blacks trying to find their way to freedom and what that freedom means for each and every one of them. That will be released in December, and you'll also be able to stream that on Vimeo. And I'm in a bunch of projects. I get cast in different things there. You can also follow me on Instagram.
Yes.
It's You Don't Know Nan, like the song Trick Daddy and Nina, for those that aren't that concerned. That's YOUDNCKNOWNAN. But I'm an adult, so I have fun. You know, this is my non-educator page. You may see my old students here and there, but yes, you can follow me there, or you can add me on Facebook, Janan Ashton, JANANASHTON.
I love it. Yay. Okay, Janan, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you were referred to me by our mutual friend, Miss Nancy. I saw you see her in the comments, gassing you up.
Love her. Can I like, Mama Nancy deserves all the flowers in the world. When I've had, wow, that's my mom on there. Hi, Mom. When I say, like, even my struggles as an educator, when I first had my children, she was like right there, like at birthday parties, at premieres, at different shows. She shows up to literally everything. She's everybody's mom in our acting community here in Philadelphia, but she's also a diehard educator, a diehard woman, a diehard loyal friend, mom. She's taken me under her wing and brought me and her family. So I love Mama Nancy, and also you all should love her and give her flowers as well.
Absolutely. Yes. I love Nancy too. She ain't Mama Nancy to me yet. But yes, I love Nancy. Hey, Nancy. So congratulations on all of your projects, Janan. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. A couple of things. Number one, for anyone who's wondering about my shirt, it says, Black woman, you are the luxury. I thought I was at a conference this past weekend. I'm going to tag the vendor who I bought it from, but I had to have it because you see all this behind me. I'm like, I have to make sure that I am putting out there that I love nice things, but I know the value of myself as a Black woman. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, again, a special shout out to Black Education Station for making this interview series possible. Again, if you guys joined late, Black Education Station is a streaming network. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, probably LinkedIn, anywhere where people are getting social. At Black Education Station is there. But most importantly, find them on their app. It's an app you can download on your phones, any devices, Apple, Android, Roku, TVs, all of that stuff. But it's a streaming app with educational content for Black children ages 0 to 10, 100% Black owned, Black created, for us, by us, FUBU, right? So make sure you guys check them out if you haven't already. And until next week, Janan, did you have anything else that you wanted to close with?
Not that I can think of.
All right. So until next week, I will hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will be right back here at 7 o'clock next Tuesday with my next guest. So until then, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Janan.